Today's video is gonna be a little bit different, since I don't normally make these type of videos, but since there's basically nothing else to do but speculate right now, I might as well theorize about why Bike by Night has been so quiet lately, and what could actually be happening behind the scenes. Bike by Night, or BBN, was supposed to be this Five Nights at Freddy's asymmetrical horror game, and at one point it genuinely looked like it would become one of the next big games in the asym community, competing with games like Forsaken, Outcome Memories, and Die of Death. But for some reason, the game suddenly entered a maintenance, and since then, basically nothing. In fact, Bye Bye Night has now been in maintenance longer than the game has actually publicly been available, which is kinda crazy when you think about it. And obviously, when a game disappears for this long, with very little information coming from the team, people are gonna start wondering what exactly is happening. Is it just a massive rework, development problem, something happening behind the scenes, or could there be another reason why the developers have been so quiet? So today we're gonna put on a tinfoil hat and theorize about what might actually be happening with Bye Bye Night and the reason why this long silence from the dev team. Since Bye Bye Night had most of their workers sign an NDA, it's not like any of them could just come out and tell us what's happening behind the scenes, so asking around wasn't exactly gonna get me anywhere. But after looking at some of the clues we do have, especially how the social team and the owner of the game have been acting during this whole situation, I think there are a few possibilities that could explain why Bye Bye Night has been so quiet about the maintenance. Obviously, none of these are confirmed, and this is just a speculation based on what we currently know, but after putting everything together, I ended up with three main theories for what could actually be happening with Bye Bye Night. The most unlikely theory is that someone deleted the game code. The reason I think this is probably the least likely explanation is simple. Even if someone somehow deleted a large part of the code, an organized development team like Bye Bye Night would surely have backups for a situation like this. It would be pretty insane for an entire project this size to rely on one copy of the game, no way of recovering it. Another thing that makes me doubt this theory is how confident and honestly kinda cocky the owner Ozel seems about the game eventually coming back. I remember there being a post where I believe Ozel basically said that people were gonna feel stupid or bad once Bye Bye Night finally released back to the public. I don't have the original post myself, so take this part with a grain of salt, but I remember it trending a few weeks or a month ago for a little while. And obviously everyone started to clowning them for it because when your game has been stuck in maintenance for this long, maybe that's not the best thing to say publicly. But that level of confidence makes me think that they at least still have the game and actively working on something behind the scenes. If the entire codebase had genuinely been deleted with no backup, I really doubt the owner would be talking that confidently about Bye Bye Night eventually returning. Anyway, my second theory, which I also think is pretty unlikely, is that they involved in some sort of legal dispute. On paper, I could see why people would think this. Scott Cawthon has previously talked about not wanting Five Nights at Freddy fan games to directly make money from his creation, but when it comes to Bye Bye Night, the situation is a little more complicated because from what I understand, a lot of the game's actual assets were created by the Bye Bye Night dev team themselves. The big issue would obviously be the fact that Bye Bye Night is still making money from a game centered around Five Nights at Freddy characters, since that's literally the entire gimmick of Bye Bye Night. So theoretically, you could imagine Scott or whoever currently handles the Five Nights at Freddy's licensing side of things having issue with that. But there's one massive problem with this theory. I haven't found anything. I haven't been able to find any public court records or anything else suggesting that Bye Bye Night is currently being sued. Obviously, that doesn't automatically prove nothing legal is happening behind the scenes, but there's currently nothing I can point towards an actual evidence. So this theory is probably another miss. There's also the possibility that some kind of private dispute resolution or arbitration happening. Basically, instead of immediately going through public court trial, both sides could try to resolve disagreement privately, sometimes with a neutral third party involved. But even then, I have to ask, Would Scott Cawthon or the Five Nights at Freddy's right holders really go that far over Bite by Night? Because compared to the entire Five Nights at Freddy franchise, Bite by Night is basically some random kid sitting at the back of the bus. It obviously popular with Roblox asymmetrical community, but it is still relatively small compared to the official Five Nights at Freddy's project. So yeah, another dead end. So this brings me to my third and final theory, probably the one that I find the most believable. Some sort of licensing agreement or another legal IP process, because at this point, something like that would explain quite a few things. The owner confident about the game eventually returning, the incredible long silence, the NDA surrounding the development team, and all the mention of legal stuff and lawyers behind the scene. If Bye Bye Night was trying to work out something, some kind of agreement that would allow them to continue using Five Nights at Freddy characters without, well, also monetizing the game, then I could understand why they wouldn't be able to publicly talk about everything that's happening. It would also explain why the owners seem so confident that Bye Bye Night is eventually gonna come back. Maybe they already know something that obviously we don't, but again, it's just a theory. I'm not a lawyer, I am definitely not informed enough about copyright licensing, trademarks, or whatever other legal nightmare could be happening in here. So take everything that I say basically with a massive grain of salt. These are just theories based on my low information we currently have. Maybe Bye Bye Night comes back tomorrow and prove everything is just said completely wrong. Anyway, I'm too tired to care. So yeah, oh yeah, Bye Bye Night Dev Team, fucking buff and fixed fighter, for the love of God. The only class that I actually enjoy playing is actually like shit. Okay, in any case, goodbye.